Today, I'll show you how to master a one-chord improvisation like the great John Coltrane did. So let's jump right in, and I'd like to start answering a question that I got after the lesson about the 5 best minor scales. And the question was, can you please show us how to apply it to a real musical situation? So of course, here we are. So if you have a modal piece, meaning you have just one chord for the whole time, or one key or one chord for a long time, then you need to get very creative to keep your solo and your improvisation interesting. And John Coltrane was a master of it. And especially in the second part of his career, he started to play more and more modal songs until he arrived into the free jazz world. But in that phase, he wrote very nice tunes. Some of them are Impressions, very famous, or Ole, of course, and one of my all-time favorites, Resolution, in the album A Love Supreme. And so what does he do with this one chord? I'd like to demonstrate it to you using the impression chord, maybe even just the A part of the impression, so just the D minor. The whole tune, except for the B part where he goes a half step higher, it's D minor, just one chord. But you can solo over it for 20 minutes. How's that possible? And that's because he's using different things over the same chord, but making this D minor always sound interesting and different. So one thing that you can do is, for example, imagining that this D minor is different kinds of D minor, because we can play D minor as an Aeolian scale, so natural minor. We can play D minor as a Dorian scale. We can play D minor as a harmonic scale. We can play D minor as a melodic minor scale. We can play D minor as a Phrygian scale. So you see, we have many different things that we can already do. Now let me demonstrate this concept to you, playing over the vamp of D minor with all the scales I just mentioned. That's like F major. Now Dorian, so with a B, so we are in C. D is now a second degree. Now harmonic minor. And now melodic minor. So you see, now I didn't use Phrygian because I played a D minor 9 in the loop, and with the 9th and the flat 9 that the Phrygian chord has, it would clash. But if the comping was played by a person and I would start playing, then this person should understand, okay, he's playing flat 9, so let me just keep the chord as neutral as possible. But as you can see, you can give a different character to this D minor all the time. And now I really try to play zero chromatisms and to absolutely never mix different scales together to show you. But now I'm gonna move between all these scales, and I'm not gonna tell you anymore which scale I'm using. I'm just blending them all together to make this D minor always interesting. And I'm also gonna use some chromatism. And if you wanna learn how to integrate chromatism in your lines, then check out my second lesson, how to play sophisticated lines, adding chromatic notes to your solo. And you're gonna be able to integrate that also in that kind of exercises. So now, chromatisms and all these scales that I mentioned. So you see, you can always have a new sound and be very specific. I want this, I want that, I want all of them, I want just 3 of them. And of course, this is just one strategy that you can use. So for example, what you could do as a next step is you could say, okay, now I also use just the arpeggio, for example, of D minor, and be very specific with it. So no scales, no additional sounds, but just the arpeggio of D minor. And then you're gonna see when I'm using all the other material and when I'm just sticking to the D minor, you're gonna hear very well, okay, that's a very different, strong idea. So let me demonstrate it. Now it's mixed. And now just the arpeggio. Let's just try it. Try it with the 9th. And now the triad with the 7th, so 4 notes. All right, so as you can see now, you have all the minor scales that we said before. You have the chromatisms, you have the arpeggios of the triad and of the 4-note chord. And now what can we do? Now we can imagine that we have a chord progression. And we can start playing like a 5 and a 1. So maybe you remember the last lesson of last week, where I talked about the Barry Harris approach. Well, perfect for that situation. So now we take the D minor again, and we imagine that we have an A7, like the 5 of the key, instead of just D minor. So let me demonstrate it to you. So you see, I played around the D minor arpeggio and the A7 flat 9 arpeggio, which is like a diminished chord. If you don't understand that, go check out the Barry Harris lesson and you're gonna get it in 5 minutes. So these are just some ideas to make your solo even more interesting. Of course, we can also imagine other pentatonics, we can also play outside and inside, we can do many things. But this is definitely something that you can apply pretty quickly and improve the quality of your solos when you have a modal tune. And that works not only in jazz, but it works in funk, in rock, in pop, in every possible musical situation where you have one key or one chord or just a few chords. So let's repeat it. First step, you try the 5 minor scales, all of them, and you try mixing them. Then you try adding chromatism to that. You try to use just the arpeggio. You try to use just the arpeggio but with 4 notes, or with adding also the 9th or the 13th. And then you try the Barry Harris method. And then when you do all this stuff, then you have so many tools that you can use to make your solo interesting that you don't even need actually to expand it more. But of course, it's always interesting, but that's a topic for another lesson. So I hope that was helpful. And let me know in the comments if you like the lesson, if you have questions, or if you have wishes for the future. I always try to answer your questions. So if I cannot answer something in the comments, then I'm gonna make a lesson about it. And so please let me know. And don't forget to check out my Patreon channel. You're gonna find the PDF about this lesson and all the lessons I do here on YouTube for free. So check out the link in the description and see you for the next lesson.